Hey everybody, this is Kevin Pelton, basketball writer for ESPN, back with another exclusive YouTube video. Today I'm going to preview the WNBA Finals, which are set now. The Connecticut Sun pulling off the upset of the Chicago Sky on their home court in Game 5 last night of the semifinals to advance to the WNBA Finals. They'll take on the Las Vegas Aces starting Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern, Game 1 in Las Vegas. Before we get to that, did want to take a moment to offer congratulations to my ESPN colleague, M.A. Vopel, who is going to be presented with the Kurt Gowdy Award for print media as part of the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame enshrinement weekend on Friday night. This is the biggest honor possible for a basketball writer. It's tremendously well-deserved for Vopel, who's been setting the standard for coverage of women's basketball since before the WNBA existed. We have a really nice tribute to Vopel on the ESPN WNBA page right now with figures from the women's basketball community. I talked to Sue Bird the other day for that, and really quite fitting because Vopel was the one who told the story when Bird announced publicly that she's gay and was dating Megan Rapinoe, who has now become her fiance. And Vopel has been helping so many players and coaches tell stories like this throughout his career. And awesome to see some of that attention now go to him and his story, and well-deserved. Hope it's a very enjoyable night and weekend before I see you in Las Vegas on Sunday, Vopel. So we're going to be seeing the Sun and the Aces. These are two teams that have been to the finals in recent years. Connecticut in 2019, Las Vegas in 2020. Both of them lost those series, and now they're looking for their first titles. Either way, we're going to have a first-time champion. We had that last year when Chicago beat Phoenix. We had that in 2019 when Washington beat Connecticut in the finals. So kind of awesome to see this love getting spread around the WNBA, and two teams that have really been knocking on the door of a championship for a long time. Neither of them made the finals last year, but they had home court advantage. They were the two teams that got buys to the semifinals under the old format as the top two seeds. This year, again, they were the top two teams in point differential. And that's why I'm expecting a really close series here. I know there are some people, my buddy Percy Allen of the Seattle Times, who just got done covering the Storm Aces semifinal with me, tweeted Las Vegas in 3 as soon as Connecticut won that one. And I get it. The Sun can be difficult to watch at times stylistically. They struggle with their half-court offense. They don't have, they have Odyssey Sims coming off the bench, but in their starting five, their primary lineup, they don't have a true point guard because Jasmine Thomas has been out for nearly the entire season with an ACL tear, which is kind of incredible that Connecticut has managed to overcome that and get to the finals. But despite that, this is the team that had the best point differential in the WNBA during the regular season. I think that makes them a very formidable competitor. That's why I picked Connecticut to beat Chicago in the semifinals, even though I was as stunned as everyone else the way it happened on Thursday night. Looked like the Sun were dead in the water after they scored just 8 points in the third quarter of a game that was tied at halftime, and then somehow hold Chicago on its home court, defending champions in front of a great crowd, to 5 points in the fourth quarter, go on an 18-0 run to advance to the finals. And I don't think they're going to do that against Las Vegas, but I think they can pose some matchup challenges. So, one thing we saw with the Aces in the semifinals against Seattle is they had a lot of success at times going small, putting 4 guards out there. Raquana Williams coming off the bench to join Kelsey Plum, Jackie Young, Chelsea Gray around Asia Wilson is the lone post player. I don't think you can use that lineup in this series against Connecticut, with Jonquel Jones, Brianna Jones coming off the bench, the 6th Player of the Year winner, with Alyssa Thomas. I mean, that team is just going to physically mash you if you try to put 4 guards out there against them. We saw even a pretty big Chicago team get really beaten up on the glass throughout the course of that series, which is how Connecticut was able to overcome the fact that, they do have a tendency to turn the ball over at times. A lot of this is going to come down to how well the Suns backcourt plays. That's really the difference between when this team struggles and when they look really good. I thought Courtney Williams found the right approach by the end of that semifinal series, doing a lot of off-ball cutting, not settling for mid-range jumpers in isolation, which, she'd been hitting a pretty low percentage over the course of the playoffs. That's the kind of style I want to see her continue to play in this series. Natisha Heidemann, when they can get her open looks, when Jonquel Jones draws double teams or Alyssa Thomas drives and dishes, Heidemann is fully capable of making teams pay for helping off of her. On the other side, I mean, so much of this is about how well Chelsea Gray continues to play. She has just been unconscious throughout the course of this playoffs. I saw it up close and personal in games 3 and games 4 in Seattle as the Aces won twice on the road to close out the Storm, finish out Sue Bird's WNBA career. And there were so many times I tweeted it was the greatest stretch of sustained shot making I've ever seen from a player at any level of basketball that I've watched or covered. And, some people I think were a little confused by that. First off, a lot of people nominated Steph Curry, and Steph Curry is an outstanding shot maker. But first and foremost, Steph Curry is a shooter. And there's a difference between a shooter and a shot maker. Chelsea Gray isn't necessarily hitting 40-foot threes or even 30-foot threes, but what she's doing is isolating, going one-on-one, taking difficult shots and knocking those down in what seems like an unsustainably high percentage, but she's done it now through 6 playoff games, shooting over 60% from the field, close to that from 3-point range. I mean, really, it's like a Kobe Bryant, Cappie Pondexter in the WNBA is the kind of comparison. Simone Augustus would maybe be another one in the WNBA. That's the comparison for this, not someone like Steph Curry or a great outside shooter in that way. But that just becomes so difficult to stop. We see so often in playoff settings that when two good defenses are going against each other, they can take away a lot of the easy stuff that teams want to get, the open threes, the points in the paint. And that's where it does become imperative to have somebody who can create their own shot, often in the mid-range. And Chelsea Gray has been doing it at the end of games over and over again, has been the best player in the postseason so far by my wins above replacement player metric, even better than her teammate Asia Wilson, who was the MVP of the league this season, got that honor on Thursday. If she does that again this series, then I think very possible that Vegas could win in probably not 3, but maybe 4. If she cools down a little bit, if it's even 50% from the field in this finals, that's where I think Connecticut has the ability to take this the distance. The Vegas did win the season series 2-1. They hosted 2 of those 3 games, although both teams won on the other home court. So we know that they have the ability to do that. I do expect great crowds throughout the course of the series. The Aces have already announced that game 1 is going to be sold out. So I'm going to be down there in Las Vegas for that. Really looking forward to the atmosphere. I've only been to one Aces game, and it was during the regular season during their first year there. So a very different atmosphere than I'm expecting to see on Sunday afternoon as we get this series started. Again, I do think Vegas is the favorites. They have home court advantage. They've played at an extremely high level throughout the playoffs. The other thing from a matchup standpoint I didn't mention, De'Erica Hamby, I think, is really going to be important in this series because, Vegas does start big with Kia Stokes alongside Asia Wilson. The Storm kind of exploited that in game 1 in their victory by helping off of Stokes. And that's what forced Becky Hammond to get into those smaller lineups a lot more the rest of the series. And we saw them often at the end of games. But De'Erica Hamby sort of gives you the best of both worlds. If she's playing at the all-star level she was at in the first half of the season, kind of tailed off after the break before suffering a bone bruise in her knee that sidelined her the last week of the regular season, and then up through game 3 of the semifinal series against Seattle. We didn't see a lot of Hamby in that series. Unsurprisingly, it was kind of hard to ramp up to the level of play that Seattle and Las Vegas were at in what was just truly a classic WNBA playoff series, even though it only went 4 games. Just a ton of great finishes, back and forth play, terrific shot making on both sides. But now Hamby's had a few days off because the Aces were able to close out early. They're going to be at home, don't have to worry about traveling, unlike Connecticut, which had to fly from Chicago via charter, which is a great upgrade on Friday, but still has only the 1 full day in Las Vegas before the series begins. So I think there's a better chance we're going to see more of Hamby, especially as the series goes on. And she sort of gives the Aces the best of both worlds. She's got the size to deal with Jonquel Jones and Alyssa Thomas in a way that their small lineup cannot. But she also brings more outside shooting as more of an offensive threat than Kia Stokes. So this could be a big series for De'Erica Hamby. She's a real player to watch here, in addition to that Connecticut backcourt that could be a difference maker in this series. So again, I'm going Las Vegas in 5. All of our picks are on ESPN.com. I'm hoping for a terrific series that matches what we saw in these 2 great semifinals, one of which went the distance with Connecticut pulling off the upset. And you can catch these games on the ESPN family of networks throughout the next couple of weeks here.